first practice better be good or you're going to have a long year. And we say that every year, but this one was good. Guys are in great shape. You've got to thank the nutrition staff and the strength staff and the medical staff for working so hard all summer and since spring practice to get these guys ready to play today. It was obviously very, very hot. We've got 2 noon games in the first 3. It was 86 degrees out there today on our turf. I checked it in Atlanta, where we'll be playing on turf with Georgia State at noon at 12:05, and it was 86 degrees. So this is great preparation for the heat that we're going to have down there. I did check at Appalachian State, and it was 73. So there's just a big difference, but the kids have to understand that difference going forward. And then we'll check the heat every day at these times, and we'll check the heat for the 8 o'clock game as well. But we're telling the guys it's what practice is the best is going to play. The bench is our friend, and we're not trying to get a depth chart to please you. We're trying to get a depth chart to win games. So, and we're not worried about who's at those positions. If we've got 3 guys at that position, we're going to rotate them that are good enough to play. But they've got to earn the right to be good enough to play, and that's being accountable. It goes back to, I thought the guys did a great job with, you got to be passionate enough to win. You've got to be accountable in everything you do, and that is easy for us to say. You missed class, you were late, you didn't eat the meal you were supposed to eat. So we're keeping an accountability list with every one of them on every little thing they do. And then last is toughness. If you can't make the club in the tub. So if you're not out here and practicing, especially in shorts, or if you got hurt today, we can't plan on you playing because we can't give you enough practice time to take away from somebody who is going to be playing simply because you're not able to handle the pressure of playing with some pain. So, but the guys are responding well. I like where we're coming in leadership. I've always said you can learn to play football in shorts, but you can't play. You can't learn to swim without a pool, without water. So we've got a couple of days here to get them ready to start competing. And we talked about today, our job really is to teach each one of them how to compete in this tough world. That's our job. And last year's team didn't compete all the time. They were inconsistent. And that, we can't do that. So we have got to have a coaching staff and a team that competes every week and brings it every week. If the other team's better than you are and you do everything you can do and you get beat, I can handle that. But you shouldn't ever lose to somebody that's not as good as you are because you don't compete. And that's the message that this team's got to have. Questions?
So you talked about the positive vibe this offseason, the things that you saw and what you gauged, everything, all that carried over to today?
Yes. I thought we'll obviously sit down for the next 2 hours and watch it all. But I saw effort. I didn't see people pulling themselves out. I saw good organization with the coaches. There's absolutely no doubt our coaches are more cohesive right now than they've been as a staff. And that's offense, defense together, kicking game. Everybody's worked with each other enough now at some point that everybody's getting along and moving in the same direction. That's exciting.
Why do you think it's more cohesive this year?
I do think that if you look at offensively, you've got Larry Porter and Phil Longo worked with Jack McNeil. So, you start looking at John Lilly, he could get along with anybody. He's maybe the nicest man I've ever met. And Lonnie's been with Phil and now John for 2 years, but Phil and Larry for 2 years. So that's all been smooth. But I think the biggest thing is the play caller, the running back coach, and the offensive line coach have history. And it's really good history. And it's positive history. And they all really believe in this offense. And that makes that better. Gene's worked with about all the guys on defense. He knows all of them. And he and Charlton are a powerful team together. And the other guys, Tommy worked for Gene at Auburn. And Dre loved Charlton and Gene when they were here and came and chatted them, and Tim Cross knew Gene at Texas. So I just feel like the whole thing right now is smoother and easier. Not that it was bad before, but maybe this wins another game that we're all on the same page.
How exactly are you splitting up the QB reps? I saw kind of different guys taking the first go around in drills and then go around in team. How are you splitting it up, and how might that change?
Yeah, the Drake and Jacoby are actually sharing the first and second team reps equally, and they're rotating. The reason you saw them rotate is both of them play with both groups, and then Connor's coming in and getting the third reps.
What did you like what did you see today out of each guy?
I thought both are what we think. They're both good. They're both very talented. There's some young receivers. I thought Dre Green really stepped up. He's what we thought he was. He's tall. He can run. He can catch. He made a couple of acrobatic catches behind him, and so he's got a chance to help us early. Doc Chapman can run. But as you look at quarterbacks, you have to look at who they're working with also, and did he run the right route, and was it deep enough, and did he cut it off too short? But I thought both of them looked good. Phil and I've talked about it. We will press both of those quarterbacks really hard every day, and it'll be easier to determine who's moving the ball when we put pads on. And then we'll take the one that has the most success in preseason against everything Gene and the defensive staff can bring against them, and then put them in there as a starter in that first game.
How difficult is it for a freshman who wasn't here in the spring to really make an impact now?
CL, it's a great thought. The guys that came in January, and there were 8 of them, if you just think, they've been through a semester, now 3 semesters of college, really, because you've got 2 in the summer and 1 in the spring. So they understand going to class. They've been through an off-season program, and they've also been through a program with your strength staff, but also your nutritionists. So they've changed who they are with their bodies, and probably most importantly, they had 15 days of spring practice with their coach. So they're so far ahead of the guys that come in late June or early July. And if you think this is the first practice for all of those guys, the 8 that came in late June, so their eyes had to be this big today. So we told them, don't worry about it, go play, learn how to practice, and work your way in. But they're obviously behind if they don't come in January.
Mack, when you talk about increasing the scrutiny maybe for Drake and Jacoby now that you're sort of in the run-up to the season, like, is that something you have to schedule for, or you just like are taking note of mentally with Phil as you go along? I mean, can there be a schedule for that, or is that something that just has to happen organically?
No, Adam, we actually do schedule it, because most of the time you're trying to get your quarterback confidence, and like with Sam, when he became the guy, everything was, let's be simple, let's get him ready for an opening ball game as a true freshman. These 2 have been here. Drake's been here a year and a half. Jacoby's been here 2 years and a half. So there's no holding back. We're not worried about their confidence. We're worried about them separating. So we're bringing it all. That we're disguising, we're blitzing, we're putting them in game type positions to see how they handle it. And then we're telling them, you're going to tell us who should start. We're not going to tell you. You'll determine that.
When do you think you have an idea of when you would like to name a starter? Like, ideally?
Yeah. I remember with Sam, I thought it was important to announce him when he had a chance to talk to you all before the first game. And that was 10 days, I think, before the game. And he had a press conference on that Monday. But I thought he didn't need to be sitting there like this and nobody knowing he was the starter. I thought he needed to get that pressure out of the way. You are the starter, here we go. So what we'll probably do is look at a similar timetable. I've never been one of those guys that says, let's hold it till the game, and maybe we will. Maybe that's what Phil thinks will be best for these 2. I've always said they're the same guy. They do the same things. They're going to run the same offense. So I don't think it's an advantage for us not to tell Florida A&M who's playing, if we feel like it's an advantage for them to get that out of the way. And then they have a full week to be the guy.
Zach Rice got a lot of work at guard and tackle today. We didn't see him at guard in the spring when we were able to watch. What do you guys like about his skill set where you can see him play both spots?
Yeah, Jack Bicknell is really, really good, in my opinion, at bringing information from the NFL back down. And one of the things he said that I didn't even realize, you have 7 offensive linemen in the NFL. So if you're going to play, you got to play guard and tackle. He said, I had 7 my first game. One of them got hurt. I'm playing with 6 guys. So he wants to double teach everybody. And then we have really, really pushing getting as many of the quote guys that the coaches trust to play by saying, hey, Andrew, get in. We don't care when it is. When we've been for 3 years now, we've been saying keep him out of the game inside the 20s on both ends and make sure he's in. We want to be able to say, get in. You go. That guy's a little tired. Get out. Get in. And not have to worry about who they are, what they do. Let our coaches call plays with whoever's in there. And Zach can do both. He's a very mature young guy. We've also got Spencer Rollin that we need to look at tackle because we haven't seen him at this level. And that'll be a real process for us and for him going through. But you've got William Barnes that can play both. You've got Travion Green that can play both. There's a lot of guys that have the ability and the length to play both, and we're going to start working those. Travion Green played guard in the spring, and he played tackle. So we are going to play him a little more at tackle right now. We need to look at Spencer, so that also gives us some time to get Zach more reps at guard.
I saw Josh Downs, Timmy Grimes kind of like demonstrating the drills for the rest of the guys. I mean, where does that come from? Where does that sit?
Yeah, we have really, really worked hard on leadership this year. We thought it was inconsistent again last year. If your leadership's inconsistent, that's what I obviously didn't do my job last year at the level I need to do it. Because if you're good enough to beat some of the teams we beat or be in a position to beat them and didn't, that's my fault. So we have gone back in every case and talked to the older guys about it's your responsibility to lead. We say it all the time, but a player-led team is a better team than a coach-led team because we can't be on the field with you. We're not in the locker room all the time. We're sure not out with you on Thursday night. So the guys are doing a very good job, or have in the off season, of stepping up and leading and saying, no, don't do that. I heard Kamen Rucker say to Des Evans today, here, get behind the line, get back. And they're responding to that better. The first couple of years we've had sensitivity. When one would ask another one to do something, it'd be like, heck, man, leave me alone. And they're not doing that now. They're listening and they're understanding. We've told them we need to do things that help us win, period. If it doesn't help us win, don't you do it. And that's it. And that's what they have to ask themselves every time. We had a really strong meeting last night about discipline, leadership, doing everything this team can do, and trying to make sure that we work together. And like I said, it's not about whether you're happy or not. It's about winning games. And that's what we've got to work on.
Mack, how Drake and Jacoby handle the competition personally? Obviously, their teammates are competing against each other.
Yes, Drake and Jacoby are both great young guys. They're both over a 3.0. They're both very successful in high school, and they've handled it amazingly well. I mean, they like each other. They're buddies. They hang out. They as they have said, they compete as hard as they can against each other on the field, but off the field, they're buddies. So, and we have talked to them about it's going to be tough for one of you. I mean, there's going to be a guy that steps up and a guy that doesn't. And the guy that doesn't get the starting job is going to have to be ready to go in at any minute. Because if the starter doesn't play well, they're good enough and close enough to put the other one in.
Have Day-Day and Jacarius been able to get any work just so far?
Jaquarius did not. Day-Day did. Day-Day did everything today. And I think he'll be fine. I think they'll release him when we put pads on in a couple of days. Jaquarius, really, he's just working right now with the trainer, and they feel like it'll be a couple of weeks, maybe even into the season before he's ready to go.
When you look over to the defensive line today, what do you see that you maybe didn't see 3 years ago when you look over there?
I see all of them with a chance to play. We've got to play as good as we look, or better, because we walk off the bus looking really good. And to do that, give us 10 plays, give us 15 plays. But we've got probably 9 guys there that can play, but they need to play. And we got to go. And you got to play good if you're going to play. But if you think about it, Keyshawn Silver's gone through injuries and such a high weight gain that it's really slowed him down. He's down to 315 pounds now. He's well. He's healthy. He's adjusted to his big body. Kendrick Binkley Jones is He's had 3 operations since he's been here. So here is a great prospect that hadn't even had a chance to really be on the field, and he's in great shape. He was 335, and now he's 315. So when you start looking at those guys, I just think we've got guys like Des Evans. He's 6'5", and now he's 265, and he looked really good rushing the passer today. Now we're not in pads, but when you have the ability to rush the passer anyway, you have the ability to get there. So he can do that. Kamen Rucker did some good things there. So I just feel like right now we've got enough depth with Javari Ritzie. He can play inside, or he can play power end or 3 technique. We've got some big bodies that can play nose. And those guys have been working to get there the last few years. They should be good now. We should be really, really good up front.
Yeah, and we got time for about 1 or 2 more. We got something
It
really.
seems like the running back room, you have a lot of depth there. Is there any discussion, or do you plan on still trying to be primarily a 2-back when it comes to actual games? Is the 2-back system, do you see some of the younger guys on the other end of that?
Yeah. CL, we're going to try to get to 3. And that's hard. And 2 of those are freshmen. So how much work can you get them? And we're going to have to hit them some and turn them loose and see if they can control the ball and have good ball security at their age with people getting after them. But we feel like all 6 are good. And we want to play 3. And British is the one with the most experience, and he's the best blocker, and he's the most secure with the ball. So he'll probably have one of those spots when we get through, and then we've got to figure out who the other guys are. A lot of those guys have had injuries. So that may happen. That may separate them some. But we've said one of the key things for Coach Porter at running back is separating his guys. Who are the guys that can make plays with the ball in space? Who are the guys that can break tackles and get tackles after yards inside? It's a good situation to have, but one that we've got to work through. And we've told the guys, there's 6 of you that are all good enough. Now we got to figure out, you've got to figure out, and we've got to put you in enough positions to figure out who they are. It's just like Andre Green. People say, well, is it fair to bring a freshman in, put him right in? If he's 6'3" and can fly and can catch, yes. I mean, if he helps us win. It's all about helping us win. So that's what the discussion's been about. This isn't about country club. This isn't about hanging out together. This isn't all about buddies. This is about discipline. This is about toughness. And this is about who gives us the best chance to win the most games.
Mack, when you have a week 0 opener, it's a week early. Is it you just move everything and camp up a week? Is it that simple, or are there other challenges that people might not understand or expect when you're like on this earlier time frame?
Yeah, it's a really good situation for us because we'll have an extra week of practice more than Appalachian State, more than Georgia State, and then we have an open date before Notre Dame. So the positive is so very obvious. I mean, it's a positive with every check. Our guys went home for a week. I don't know that it would have been healthy for them to be home for 2 weeks before they came back. So that was the perfect amount of time to let them back away, get some rest, and come back to work. The negative is it makes your season longer for your coaches and your players. So we'll have to really look at how we handle open dates, because now we've got another one. And we have to look at the amount of time we've got them on the field and take some time off for them. So that's the concern, is you actually have an extra week during the season more than anybody else.
But you like it by and large, is what it sounds like.
I really like it in this situation this year. I don't know that I'd like it every year. Well, I'll tell you in December. But right now, I think it's perfect for us. The quarterbacks have a game at home before they go on the road. I checked it last night. I think we're 7-11 on the road. We're 7-12 on the road, and that's in games that are 7 points or less. So a whole lot about what I talked about last night. I took every game that we've lost with 7 points or less. I put up the amount of time that was left in the game. I put up the opportunity we had to win, and it's a whole bunch of games. And what I've told them is we got to figure out whatever that is. And if coaching, discipline, confidence. We got to start winning close games, and especially on the road. And if we'd done that, we wouldn't even be sitting here talking about what we hadn't done right.
7-12 on the road, 1-8 in the games, less
Yeah,
than 7.
7 and 12 on the road, and 1 in 8 of games that are 7 points or less. That's poor coaching. I mean, we got to do a better job. And when your team's good enough to get down to that fourth quarter, we always won those at Texas. I think we won about 20 and lost 3, and we haven't done that here. So that's our next step. If we had won those tight games, we'd be a top 10 team, and we haven't. And that's what's making us a team that's been average.